And there's a film on BBC2 shortly, Pritzi's Honour, starring Jack Nicholson and Kathleen Turner as two contract killers who fall in love, unaware that they share the same profession.
The fire has burned since yesterday afternoon. Local authorities claim...
Jack, 20 seconds to take off!
All right.
This has been a KJCM News Update. Now stay tuned for Jack Killian, the Nighthawk.
Evening viewing for New Year's Eve starts with a special Songs of Praise linking congregations in Buckinghamshire, New Zealand and New York.
Hello, we're having a party to celebrate 20 years of Question Sport. And we'd like you at home to join in the fun.
At 7:45, some mothers do have them.
You soon get the hang of it, don't you?
Then at 8:15, A Hazard of Hearts. Diana Rigg leads an all-star cast.
You cannot marry my son, of course. That is an absurdity. Besides, he will never marry. I am his life.
Now it goes like this. Hi, I'm Jerry Hall, and on New Year's Eve, I'll be helping Clive James present his review of the decade. What a man Clive is.
And Clive and Jerry take us up to midnight when the chimes of Big Ben herald the 90s. Then from Lambeth Palace, the Archbishop of Canterbury delivers a message for the new decade. Our first film of the new year stars Michael Caine in The Ipcress File.
Lose that door, will you?
A smashing end to entertainment for New Year's Eve here on BBC One.
See that, Billy? No sweat. Seconds to spare. Okay, we're back with Dr. Nicholas McCraney.
And before that on BBC One, it's time for the news and sport with Martin Lewis and Rob Bonnet.
President Bush says the U.S. Army raid on the home of Nicaragua's ambassador to Panama was a screw-up. But he asks why the ambassador needed to keep grenades, rocket launchers and machine guns in his home. And 60 injured, 50 under arrest as Israeli police clash with peace protesters in Jerusalem. Good evening. President Bush has said American troops in Panama made a mistake when they raided the home of the Nicaraguan ambassador. It's a screw-up, the president admitted. It should not have happened. But Mr. Bush said the raid revealed that the ambassador was up to his eyeballs in heavy weapons, adding, "I don't know what they need rocket launchers for in a man's house." Nicaragua condemned the raid as an outrage and responded by expelling 20 American diplomats from the U.S. Embassy in Managua. They've been given 72 hours to leave the country.
American troops today were surrounding the house of the Nicaraguan ambassador, where they said they had found anti-tank weapons and automatic rifles, as well as small arms, much more than he needed for his own defense. The United States government expressed regret over the incident, and President Bush, who was on holiday in Texas, called it a screw-up, but questioned why the ambassador was, as he put it, up to his eyeballs in heavy weapons. The U.S. Army said it had done what it had to do.
Acting on very reliable information from a Panamanian citizen that the house contained a large arms cache, soldiers from Joint Task Force South moved to the location and surrounded it.
The overnight raid had lasted an hour, and in the course of it, some 40 American troops had searched the ambassador's house and pushed him aside. He protested strongly that it was a violation of the Geneva Convention, and his government retaliated. President Daniel Ortega of Nicaragua expelled 20 American diplomats and ordered a 2/3 cut in the administrative staff of their embassy. But that's a side issue. Back in Panama, General Noriega remains holed up in the house of the papal nuncio. And with the Americans apparently taking so flexible a view of diplomatic immunity, it's not entirely out of the question they could go in and get him. Martin Bell, BBC News, Washington.
About 60 people, half of them foreigners, were injured when Israeli police fired rubber bullets, tear gas and water cannon to break up a peace demonstration in the old city of Jerusalem. Thousands took part in the protest, calling for Israel to end its occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. 50 people were arrested.
The organizers had called for a peaceful demonstration. The Israeli government had urged people not to attend at all. Neither won the day. It started peacefully enough as about 20,000 Israelis Palestinians and 1,000 or so foreign visitors, including women and children, linked hands in a symbolic encirclement of Jerusalem's old city walls, accompanied by prayers for peace. Then, according to one foreign diplomat present, with no more provocation than a few chants from some of the demonstrators near the Damascus gate, the Israeli police opened fire with tear gas and plastic and rubber bullets. There were, in the words of an eyewitness, some pretty horrific scenes as the police waded in, lashing out at everyone. It was, said the diplomat, who's been an observer of many of the excesses of the Israeli security forces during the 2 years of the Palestinian uprising, one of the worst examples of unprovoked and excessive violence he had seen, like something out of Eastern Europe before the revolutions, according to another eyewitness. Even after the demonstration had been broken up, the police chased fleeing demonstrators with water cannon. The organizers say about 50 people were injured, and the Israeli police have, with the stink of tear gas still in the streets, ordered an inquiry into allegations by Israeli members of parliament who took part of brutality by the police. Keith Graves, BBC News in the Middle East.
Police in the Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan have fired on demonstrators demanding an end to local Communist Party rule. One person was killed, 155 injured. The demonstrators turned on the police, forcing them to drop their weapons and retreat. Local radio tonight talked of obstruction by opponents of restructuring, adding that the situation had stabilized but remained tense. From Moscow, Ben Brown.
The shootings happened in the town of Jalilabad, just 15 miles from the Soviet Union's border with Iran. Thousands of demonstrators had gathered outside the headquarters of the town's Communist Party, complaining about the power it wields. Until now, the fervor of most Azerbaijani nationalists has been targeted on neighboring Armenia in the dispute over who controls the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh. But this time, Azerbaijani anger was unmistakably directed at the Communist Party itself, a worrying development for President Gorbachev. Ben Brown, BBC News, Moscow.
A group of Romanian communists has called for the party to be dissolved. They condemned the brutality of Nicolae Ceausescu's rule and apologized for the hardships suffered by their countrymen. In Bucharest and the provinces, a new security network is being built up to safeguard the revolution from a return to the old regime.
It's been a long week for Romania's soldiers. They turned their rifles away from the crowds, then defended the revolution. Many who entered the town hall here in Arad before Christmas have stayed ever since in a makeshift dormitory for the People's Army. They're still the front line in mopping up pockets of resistance by small groups of the Securitate secret police. But the main security job in towns and villages across the country is by bands of civil guardsmen, ordinary citizens who check every car. They even need to guard the hospitals. The Securitate have been known to attack the wounded and destroy blood supplies. In Arad, the hospital is the responsibility of a group of engineers from a lathe factory. Their World War II Czechoslovakian rifles would be no match for the few remaining bands of Securitate, but these militiamen are the eyes and ears of Romania's revolution.
These people can see things, can observe terrorists trying to infiltrate somewhere. We know the important strategic points. That's what we guard. The entrances, the roofs, the morgue.
At Arad's police headquarters, the head of the local Securitate is now under arrest. But such is the power of Colonel Rashina that as he's brought in to face the camera, the chief of the civilian police seems uneasy. The secret policeman is now called a terrorist and will stand trial with his deputy Lieutenant Colonel Salceanu, accused of helping a group of Securitate commandos who killed 17 and wounded 60 in this town. Tonight in western Romania there are stories of sporadic fighting in the mountains not far from here.